It started like most uneventful nights. I had the house to myself for the weekend, something I used to look forward to, if I'm honest. Rachel was out at a bachelorette party for one of her coworkers. According to her, it was a girls-only retreat at some quiet country house outside Jacksonville. No cell service. No boys. Just wine, games, and badly timed Taylor Swift karaoke. She made it sound harmless, relaxing, even boring. "We're going off the grid," she'd said, smiling as she tossed a bag of oversized sweaters into the trunk. "Don't worry, babe. Nothing but charades and Moscato." I believed her. That evening, I did what any guy left alone for a weekend might do. I ate leftover pizza straight from the box. I let ESPN play in the background while I aimlessly scrolled Reddit. I had every intention of going to bed early. I wasn't in the mood for anything else. By 11:43 p.m., the house was quiet. Lights off, phone charging, dog already passed out by my feet. I was under the covers, about to doze off, when my phone buzzed. Just one buzz, no ringtone, no FaceTime jingle. Just a call. Rachel. I squinted at the screen. My first thought was that something was wrong. Maybe she forgot something important. Maybe one of the girls had gotten drunk and broken her ankle trying to ride a pool float down a staircase. The usual bachelorette chaos. I answered immediately. "Hey, you good?" No response. Just faint rustling on the other end. I waited. Ratch. Still nothing. Then the volume shifted. Suddenly, the mic on her end picked up more clearly, voices. Not a group of women cackling over card games or dancing to 2000s pop. But just two people. A man. And Rachel. At first, I couldn't make out what was being said. Just the rhythm of her voice, softer, more careful than usual, like she was trying not to wake someone up. Then I heard him speak, too close to the mic. "You always smell like that?" he said, voice low, amused. Confident. Too confident. Rachel giggled. Not loud, not forced, but that specific kind of laugh she used to save for our inside jokes. It was almost breathy, like it was meant to stay between just the two of them. "Jack," she whispered. I froze. Jack. Her boss. The guy who had started texting her after hours more often than most work emergencies required. The guy she swore was married with kids, and barely made eye contact during meetings. The guy whose name I'd seen pop up on her lock screen once at 1:08 a.m. Tagged with a fire emoji and the word urgent. I sat up in bed. On the call, I heard the creak of a mattress or couch, maybe. Another giggle. More hushed talking. Then a door closing quickly, like someone had realized a sound might be overheard. The call ended. Just like that. No explanation. No accidental fumbling to hang up. Just silence. My phone screen dimmed as if nothing had happened. I stared at it, waiting for it to light up again. A text. A call back. Something. Nothing came. For the next 20 minutes, I just sat there, phone in hand, replaying it all in my head like a scene from a movie I didn't want to watch but couldn't turn off. I kept trying to explain it away. Maybe she'd pocket-dialed me. Maybe it was some weird joke, or a bit from a movie in the background. Maybe Jack was there, but so were 5 other people and I just didn't hear them. But I couldn't shake the way she said his name. The softness in her voice wasn't casual. It wasn't professional. It was familiar. Too familiar. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself I was overthinking. That I didn't hear what I knew I heard. That it was nothing. I told myself not to jump to conclusions. I talked to her in the morning. When I finally did drift off, it was light, restless. I dreamed of being in a hotel hallway where every door was locked. Rachel's voice behind one, Jack's laugh behind another, but I couldn't get in, couldn't move, couldn't wake up. Morning came slowly, and with it, a sick feeling in my stomach. She got home around 9:30 a.m. I heard her car before I saw her. The garage door opened, then closed, and a few moments later she came through the mudroom. She looked tired, but not in a "we partied until dawn" kind of way. She was wearing the same sweatshirt she'd left in, the one I always thought was too big to be flattering, but she claimed was cozy and low maintenance. She didn't kiss me hello. just set her overnight bag down by the door and said, "Morning, morning," I said, trying not to sound like I'd been waiting up all night with conspiracy theories running laps in my brain. She walked into the kitchen like it was just another Saturday, pulled the cold brew from the fridge, grabbed a banana, checked her phone. I waited a minute, then asked, as casually as I could manage, "Did you try calling me last night?" She paused, just slightly. "What?" "You called. Around midnight. I picked up, but I think it was a butt dial. You didn't say anything." She blinked, then smiled too fast. "Oh God, probably. Yeah, I think one of the girls had my phone for a bit. They were messing around, playing pranks. I think they FaceTimed someone's ex." I nodded slowly. "Right?" She sipped her coffee, eyes locked on her screen. I didn't press further. Not yet. But in that moment, something about her felt off. Like her words were scripted. Like she was performing an answer she'd rehearsed in the car before walking in. There wasn't any real warmth in her voice. No teasing. No curiosity about how my night had been. Just surface-level chatter. She didn't ask why I was awake so early. She didn't hug me. She just ate her banana, grabbed her bag, and said she was going to take a long shower. I sat at the table long after she left the room. Phone still in my hand. Still hearing his voice. Still hearing her laugh. Still wondering if I'd just witnessed the unraveling of my marriage in 27 seconds of an accidental phone call. After that night, I started noticing everything. It wasn't like flipping a switch. More like someone had wiped fog off a mirror. Things that used to seem harmless now felt wrong. Out of place. That call, those seconds of her laughing with Jack, had cracked something in me. And once it was cracked, I couldn't pretend anymore. Rachel didn't notice the change in me at first. She thought I'd bought the story, that the phone call was some harmless prank, one of the girls messing around. And maybe if it had just been that, I could have talked myself into believing her. But that's the thing about suspicion. Once it gets in your head, it doesn't leave quietly. It starts digging, connecting dots you didn't even know were there. I started keeping track silently. No journals, no spreadsheets. Just mental notes. The first thing I noticed was how often she wasn't home anymore. It used to be rare, her staying late at work. Once a week, maybe twice if they were closing a campaign. But suddenly it was 3 for nights in a row. Always the same excuse. We're behind on deliverables. Or we're in pre-production. Or we've got to prep for the client presentation. It was never, I'm going to be late because Jack wants to go over the deck again. But she didn't have to say it. I knew. I'd hear his name dropped casually in conversation, the way you might mention your dentist or your spin class instructor. Just enough to make it normal. Once, I called her around 8:30 just to see if she was okay. She didn't pick up. Texted me 20 minutes later, "Sorry, in the studio. Can't talk." But when she came home that night, she smelled like tequila and Dolce & Gabbana, not stress and stale coffee. Another time, I dropped by her office on my lunch break. Unannounced? Sure, but we'd done that before. It wasn't a big deal. I just thought I'd bring her a smoothie. Say hi. Maybe feel like we still shared a life together. She wasn't there. Her coworker, I think her name was Lindsay, looked confused when I asked. "I thought she left for an off-site meeting," she said. "With Jack, of course." When I asked Rachel about it later, she brushed it off like it was nothing. "Oh yeah," she said, opening the fridge. "We had to swing by a client's office last minute. I meant to text you." She kissed me on the cheek like punctuation. It was always like that, half-truths packaged in practiced ease. But I started watching her closer, and the cracks were everywhere. She used to leave her phone around the house. On the counter. On the couch. Face up, no password, like someone who had nothing to hide. Now it was always in her hand or stuffed in a pocket. And if she did set it down, it was face down. Notifications off. Screen dimmed. I remember one morning, I came downstairs and saw it buzzing on the table. No name, just a number. She saw me looking at it and snatched it up like it was a live grenade. "Spam," she said quickly, already deleting the call. "I've been getting so many of those lately." But her hands were shaking when she put the phone back in her bag. Then there was the perfume. She used to wear this light, citrusy scent, the kind that clung to pillowcases and made you feel like she just walked out of a spring morning. But one day she came home smelling different. Stronger, muskier, almost spicy. I asked her about it and she just said, "Oh, sample bottle from a client. Thought I'd try something new." She never asked if I liked it. Her clothes changed too. Not drastically, not like she was walking out in sequins and 6-inch heels. But they became sharper, edgier. Blazers that cinched at the waist. Skirts a little shorter than usual. A pair of heels she swore hurt her feet when I bought them for her birthday last year, now worn down like they were her go-to. One night, I found a hotel key card wedged under the passenger seat of her car. I'd borrowed it to run to the gas station and spotted something glinting when I adjusted the seat. It was from a hotel in Boca Raton. I picked it up like it might burn me. She hadn't mentioned Boca Raton. When I asked her about it, she blinked, caught off guard, just for a second. Then, "Oh, that's old. From the campaign shoot we did there back in April." I thought I threw that away. But the card wasn't dusty. No scratches. Still had that faint magnetic sheen. It didn't feel old. I didn't argue, just nodded and tucked it into the glove box, where it still sits, like a question mark no one wants to address. The thing that finally really broke me, was the ring. She'd come home one night from drinks with the girls, and when she set her purse down on the table, I noticed a new ring on her right hand. It wasn't flashy, but it wasn't subtle either. Gold band, simple stone. Classy. Too classy to be something one of her coworkers picked up at Target on a whim. "Nice," I said, eyeing it. "When'd you get that?" She looked down like she forgot it was even there. "Oh," she said. "It's just from one of the girls. A silly gift." But she didn't take it off for 3 days. And the whole time, she barely looked at me. In bed, she'd started turning away, pulling the covers over her shoulder like a wall. Her goodnight kisses were fast, dry, distant. She used to curl into me without even thinking. Now her body stayed rigid, tense, like touching me took effort. She never said anything cruel. Never called me names or started fights. If anything, she was polite, friendly, like I was a coworker she respected but had nothing in common with. That was the worst part, how clinical it all felt. Like the woman I married had slowly folded herself into a version of someone else. Someone I didn't know, but someone who laughed at another man's whisper and didn't mean to call me. I didn't want to believe it. God, I didn't. I kept telling myself I was overthinking, that maybe I was just in a rut, projecting my insecurities. I Googled things like signs of emotional distance and how to reconnect with a partner. I even started planning a surprise weekend trip for the two of us. Just us. Thinking maybe if we could get out of town, we could remember how to talk again. But I couldn't unsee the pattern. Her late nights, the evasive answers, the perfume, the clothes, the ring, the laughter I heard on that call, the man whose voice I recognized. It wasn't one thing anymore. It was everything. A web of little lies wrapped in charm and professionalism. A carefully staged play that had started to unravel, thread by thread, right in front of me. Jack. His name became a knot in my throat. I'd never met him, not really. Just shook his hand once at a holiday party, where he wore a blazer too tight for his frame and laughed like he wanted everyone to hear him. I remember the way he looked at Rachel then, like he knew something I didn't, like he already had a backstage pass to a story I thought I was starring in. The suspicion had become a story I couldn't stop telling myself. And deep down, I already knew the ending. I just didn't want to turn the page yet. Rachel said she was going to a business forum in Orlando. She told me over breakfast, casual as ever, stirring her coffee like we weren't sitting on the edge of something about to break. "It's a 3-day event," she said. "Jack wants the whole team there. We're presenting to the board, networking, all that boring stuff." She smiled, that same professional smile she wore in client photos. Practiced, polite, emotionless. The kind of smile that could sell anything, including a lie. I tried to play it cool. "When do you leave?" "Thursday morning. Early." "Need help packing?" She laughed softly. "No, I've got it." Something about her tone, light, dismissive, told me she didn't want me involved. I nodded and went back to my cereal, pretending everything was fine. But deep down, I already knew this wasn't just another trip. The way she said Jack wants the whole team there had a quiet finality to it, like she was rehearsing a line for a play I wasn't invited to. The morning she left, she kissed me goodbye at the door. Her lips barely brushed my cheek. "See you Sunday," she said, grabbing her suitcase. "Don't forget to water the plants." I watched her drive off until her taillights disappeared. Then I stood in the doorway for a long time, trying to figure out why my chest felt hollow. I wanted to tell myself I was paranoid, that she was working, that I was losing my grip on reality. But the thing about instinct, it never whispers without reason. That afternoon, she forgot her tablet. It was sitting on the kitchen counter, screen lit up, still logged in. I wasn't planning to look. I swear I wasn't. But something inside me, that gnawing, sickening sense of being lied to, pushed me. I tapped the screen. The first thing I saw was her calendar. The business forum was there, but the details were strange. No address, no company logo, no meeting times. Just one event titled Orlando Team Sync. I clicked it open. It wasn't a conference registration. It was a hotel reservation. Ocean View Suite. For two. The name on the confirmation. Jack P. Langston. The air went out of the room. I stared at it, heart pounding so hard it hurt. I could barely breathe. I scrolled down and saw the receipt, billed to a corporate card, but under her account. There was even a little note in the comments section. Special request, chilled champagne, rose petals, late checkout. Rose petals. My hands were shaking. I felt like I'd been dropped underwater. Everything went quiet, distorted. My vision tunneled. I opened her photo gallery next, not out of curiosity, but because some part of me already knew there was more. The last synced photos were from the night before. There she was, standing on a hotel balcony, wrapped in a white robe, hair damp, a glass of champagne in hand. Her smile, that smile soft, unguarded, the kind I hadn't seen in months. And behind her, in the reflection of the glass door, was a man in a towel. Jack. I dropped the tablet onto the counter like it burned me. For a long time, I just stood there, staring out the window at nothing. The house was so quiet it felt like it might collapse under the weight of it. Even the clock ticking on the wall sounded cruel. Every second another reminder that my life, as I knew it, had already ended hours ago. I didn't call her, didn't text, didn't even move for a while. Eventually, I grabbed my keys, got in the car and started driving. The highway blurred past like static. I don't even remember making the decision. Just the sound of tires on asphalt and the dull, relentless pounding in my chest. The drive to Orlando took 4 hours, but it felt shorter, like my brain had folded time in half. Every mile, I rehearsed what I'd say, how I'd catch her, what I'd do. But the closer I got, the quieter my thoughts became. It wasn't rage anymore. It was resignation, the kind that sits deep in your bones and just stays there. When I finally reached the hotel, it was nearly 10 p.m. I parked across the street, near a line of palm trees that cast long, trembling shadows in the headlights. The place was all glass and gold light, too perfect, too pristine for what was happening inside. I spotted her car first, parked near the entrance, exactly where she said she'd left it before, heading to the convention center. And then I saw them. They walked out of the lobby together, her hand brushing his arm as they talked, her head tilted toward him the way she used to tilt it toward me. He said something that made her laugh, and she touched his chest, that gentle, effortless way that used to make me feel like I was the only man alive. They didn't look guilty. They looked comfortable, like this wasn't new, like they'd done it 100 times before. He leaned in to kiss her. She didn't hesitate. I don't know how long I sat there after that. Could have been minutes. Could have been hours. The dashboard light flickered, and my reflection in the windshield didn't even look like me anymore. Just some guy watching his own life happen from the outside. At 2:03 a.m., my phone buzzed. A message from her. Rachel, going to sleep. Love you. Blue heart. I stared at it for a long time. The timestamp made it worse, the precision of it, the lie delivered with perfect timing. I didn't even open it fully. Just swiped left and deleted the thread. That tiny act, erasing her words, felt heavier than anything I'd ever done. Like closing a door that would never open again. The next morning, I drove home in silence. No music, no podcasts, no thoughts. Just the dull hum of the road and the quiet understanding that something irreversible had happened. Every part of me wanted to scream, to confront her, to make her see what she'd done. But what good would it do? The truth was already carved into stone. When she came back Sunday afternoon, she walked in with the same tired smile, a suitcase in one hand and a paper cup of Starbucks in the other. "Hey," she said. "Miss me?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized that whatever I felt before was gone. Not hate, not love, just emptiness. She told me stories about the forum, how the team crushed their presentation, how Jack was thrilled. She even brought me a keychain from the hotel gift shop, a little seashell that said, "Wish you were here." I thanked her. She didn't notice my voice shaking. She didn't notice how I couldn't meet her eyes. Or maybe she did, and she was just better at pretending than I was. That night, I lay beside her while she scrolled through her phone, her face lit by that blue glow that used to comfort me. She turned away after a few minutes and muttered, "Good night." And for the first time, I didn't the morning after she got back. I woke up before the sun. Rachel was still asleep, curled up under the covers like everything was normal. Her breathing was soft, steady, peaceful. And for a moment, I watched her, trying to find a version of the woman I used to know. The woman who used to pull me closer in her sleep, who used to wake up smiling, barefoot in the kitchen, humming some half-remembered melody while pouring coffee. I searched her face for that version, but I didn't see it. I saw someone I didn't recognize anymore. That was the moment I knew I was done. No blow-up, no confrontation, no last-ditch conversation where we both cry and promise to try harder. I didn't want any of that. I didn't want to argue or plead, or even ask why. What I wanted, what I needed, was distance. Real, tangible space between the person I used to be and the person she was becoming. I got up without waking her, made coffee in silence. No mugs clinked, no spoons stirred. Just the low hum of the machine and the click of cabinet doors as I moved quietly around the kitchen like a ghost in my own house. Then I packed a bag. I didn't take much, just the essentials. A couple shirts, jeans, my passport, a folder with documents I didn't want to leave behind. I grabbed my toolbox and my old running shoes. Left the rest. Everything else, the wedding photos, the souvenirs, the shared junk drawer full of warranties and tangled charging cables, stayed right where it was. I didn't want any of it. I stood at the door for a long time, keys in hand. There was a small part of me that wanted to leave a note. Just one line. Something like, "I know. You don't have to lie anymore." But I didn't. I left nothing. No accusations. No parting **T. I figured if she had the emotional depth to feel guilt, she already knew. And if she didn't, then no message would make a difference. So I walked out, locked the door behind me, and I left. It was a two-lane highway kind of escape, the kind you only see in indie films. I drove south with the windows down and no real plan, just a need to move. For hours, I let the wind fill the car and the silence do the heavy lifting. I didn't call anyone, didn't post a thing. I wanted to disappear completely, without ripples. By sunset, I was pulling into my cousin Evan's place in Savannah. He greeted me at the garage in oil-stained jeans and a cut-off tee, wiping his hands on a rag like something out of a forgotten summer memory. He didn't ask questions, just looked at me, nodded once, and said, "You can take the spare room. Sheets are clean, probably." That night, I slept like I hadn't in months. No weight on my chest, no second guessing, no sound of her laughing at another man's voice in the dark. Just me, alone, breathing. The next morning, Evan handed me a coffee and tossed me a wrench. "You said you used to like fixing stuff," he said, nodding toward the open hood of an old Ford. "So fix something." And so I did. Every day after that started the same way: coffee, grease, silence. I worked on engines with Evan at his small garage off the highway. Nothing fancy, just steady labor, tangible results. I scrubbed rust, changed filters, replaced belts, cleaned carburetors until my hands were raw and blackened. There was something honest about the work. It didn't pretend to be anything it wasn't. It didn't lie to me. Evenings were simple. A beer on the porch. Sometimes a jog around the block. Sometimes nothing. I didn't check social media. I didn't answer texts. I let people wonder. It felt like shedding a second skin. Peeling off the version of myself that had stayed too long, begged too often, forgiven too easily. I replaced my phone, wiped the old one completely and tossed it in the glove box of my car like a piece of contaminated evidence. I got a new number, a prepaid plan. No shared accounts. No synced calendars. Just me. Every shared subscription gone. Netflix, Spotify, Dropbox. The little things we once used together, now scrubbed clean. I even deleted the digital photo album we made after our honeymoon. It felt brutal but necessary. I couldn't afford to keep pieces of her in my life like traps waiting to spring. I unfollowed her everywhere, blocked her number, erased our thread of texts so I wouldn't be tempted to scroll backward, looking for the exact moment it all changed. Because there wasn't one. Not really. People don't fall out of love all at once. There's a quiet erosion. A series of almosts and maybes and, I'll tell him tomorrow. I wasn't bitter, not the way people expect. I wasn't crafting some revenge plot or planning to burn her life down from a distance. That would have taken energy, tension, and I didn't want to give her either. All I wanted was peace. And peace, I found, doesn't always come with closure. Sometimes it comes with detachment. The thing about walking away quietly is that people don't know how to respond. They expect anger. They expect drama. When you don't give them that, they're left with their own echo. She didn't text, not right away. I imagine the first time she noticed I was gone. She assumed I was mad about something minor. Maybe thought I needed space. She probably paced around the house, checking the garage, calling my phone, waiting for that familiar buzz. I imagine her trying to log into Spotify and realizing the account no longer existed. Or opening our shared calendar and seeing it completely empty. I left her with silence. That was the point. There's something freeing about disappearing without spectacle. Just fading. No fight. No chance to spin the story. Just a missing presence. An absence too quiet to explain. She still had the house. The furniture. The framed photos we hadn't taken down yet. But all the warmth was gone. She couldn't perform her way around that. Sometimes Evan would ask if I was okay. I'd nod. Sometimes I'd lie. But mostly I kept to myself. I fixed cars. Ran in the mornings. Cooked my own meals. I wasn't trying to reinvent myself. I was just trying to remember who I was before I became someone else's background character. There was a kind of therapy in the routine. In the grind. I'd come home smelling like gasoline and rain. Hands sore. Muscles tight. Mind clear. For the first time in months, I could sleep without wondering where she was. Who she was texting. Whether her smile meant something to someone else. In the silence, I started rebuilding myself. Not into a better man. Just an honest one. Someone who didn't ignore red flags for the sake of comfort. Someone who didn't accept breadcrumbs when he deserved the whole meal. It wasn't heroic. It wasn't cinematic. It was quiet, plain, undramatic. But it was mine. Rachel came back on a Tuesday. I don't know if she expected me to be waiting on the couch with a suitcase and a list of ultimatums, or sulking in bed with my phone full of unread messages and second chances. Maybe she pictured some kind of emotional explosion, yelling, crying, the whole cinematic breakdown. Instead, she walked into silence. Our house, once filled with the hum of overlapping lives, was still, hollow. The kind of quiet that isn't just absence, but absence that means something. She called my name as she stepped through the front door, her heels clicking too loud against the hardwood. Adam. Nothing. She moved through the kitchen, past the bar where I used to make her coffee every morning. Cream first, always, and into the hallway. I imagine she expected to find the door to our bedroom cracked open. Light spilling through. Some sign that I was still here. That I had just needed time to cool off. Instead, she found the closet half empty. My side, always the Messier one, was gone. No hoodies draped over hangers. No jeans crumpled into corners. Just her dresses, her shoes, her scent. The same scent I once buried my face in when she hugged me from behind. Now it just sat in the air like perfume over a grave. I'd left only one thing behind. A note, taped to the mirror. You wanted space, now you have it. I wasn't trying to be cruel. I was just done pretending I didn't understand what she'd been asking for all along. She wanted freedom, and now she had it. I just made it official. She sat on the edge of the bed, still in her work clothes, and read it over and over. According to Evan, who got the whole story later, secondhand through a mutual friend, she stayed there for hours. Didn't call anyone. Didn't touch her phone. Just sat there with that note in her hand, like it was some kind of puzzle she couldn't solve. By nightfall, she was pacing the living room, looking through drawers, calling my phone, checking the fridge, the garage, the laundry hamper, as if my presence might still linger in the fabric of the house. As if I'd only just left and might walk back in any minute, keys jingling, tired but willing to talk. But I was already gone. No forwarding address. No trail of digital breadcrumbs. Just a clean break. I didn't change the locks. I didn't cancel the lease or drain the joint account. But I unhooked myself from everything that bound me to her. Subscriptions, gone. Streaming services, logged out. Utilities, transferred. Car insurance, moved to my name only. Even the dentist we used to see together, I called and requested my records be sent elsewhere. She still had the house, technically. But emotionally, she was standing in a replica, a hollowed-out version of what used to be a home. A few days later, I heard she posted a throwback photo. Us in Miami, smiling in the sun, frozen in that artificial perfection of a filtered memory. The caption? Just a single emoji. A broken heart. Classic Rachel. Beautiful in sadness. Public in her pain. She began doing what people do when they realize they've pushed too far. She started retracing her steps, virtually, emotionally, physically. She scrolled through old photos, posted quotes that read like confessions without admitting guilt. Things like, "Some mistakes cost you everything." Or, "If you love something, set it free." The kind of hollow accountability that makes people comment with heart emojis and, "You deserve better." She started wearing my hoodies, or at least the ones I left behind. The gray one I always wore on Sunday mornings. The one with a rip near the sleeve from a bonfire night 3 years ago. She posted a photo in it. No makeup. Hair messy. Looking off to the side like she wasn't aware the camera was there. Everyone told her she looked beautiful. No one asked why she looked alone. Rachel tried calling. Not right away, but eventually. The first time, she left a voicemail. Her voice cracked once, in the middle, but she held it together. Said she just wanted to talk. To hear my voice. Said she missed me. Said she didn't know what happened. That was the part that made me laugh. She didn't know? I didn't respond. I didn't even listen to the whole message. Just enough to know it was her. Just enough to know nothing had changed. She tried texting a week later. A single line. I was stupid. Then deleted it. I know because I saw the notification pop up, then vanish. Read, then gone. Like she'd typed it with trembling fingers, hoping it would land, and then panicked when it did. She never sent another. But she still watched. I could feel it. I'd post something. A sunrise from my morning run, or a greasy snap *T of some engine Evan and I had just overhauled, and within minutes, she'd see it. Never liked, never commented, but always there. The ghost in the algorithm, watching my life from the outside. Once, she accidentally liked an old photo of me at a wedding, 2 years ago, in a navy suit she picked out. She unliked it immediately, but the notification stayed in my phone. Her name next to a moment from before she ruined everything. Before she became a stranger in our own story. That was when I knew she was spiraling. She went back to our favorite places. The taco spot where we once argued about salsa levels. The park with the broken bench we used to lie on, looking up at planes and naming them after places we'd never go. She even went to the bookstore where I bought her that poetry collection she never finished reading. Took a photo there. Smiling barely. She was chasing shadows. But I wasn't in any of them. I didn't hate her. I didn't wish her pain. But I also didn't owe her healing. That part was on her now. I had already started over, not in the dramatic movie montage kind of way. Not with some new woman or revenge body or overseas escape. I just rebuilt, piece by piece. Mornings filled with sweat and sunlight instead of suspicion. Afternoons with tools and grease and real conversation. Evenings where silence meant peace, not punishment. I didn't erase her from my memory. That's impossible. But I stopped editing myself around her ghost. She, on the other hand, was unraveling. I heard from a friend, mutual but closer to her, that she cried the first time she came home to the house and realized the fridge still had the magnet from our trip to Asheville, but no new groceries. That she wore my t-shirts to bed, even though she said they were too loose. That she walked into my closet, hoping maybe she was wrong. That maybe I'd left a jacket, a shoe, a sock, but I hadn't. I'd left space, the exact thing she said she needed. And when she finally got it, she realized too late that space, once given, doesn't come with a return policy. While Rachel drowned in memories, Adam built a new life. He joined a running club, fixed bikes with Evan, and made real friends. She posted cryptic quotes and scrolled through old pictures, hoping he'd reach out. He never did. For him, the past was a closed chapter. He wasn't angry anymore, just free. She faded like background noise. He'd stopped being the man who waited. A year later, they crossed paths at an expo. She wore the same dress he once saw her in with Jack. She smiled like it meant something, but Adam only nodded politely and turned away, walking hand in hand with someone new. Rachel stood frozen, realizing the silence he left her with wasn't revenge. It was closure. He was no longer hers to grieve. He had become the final page of a story she could no longer rewrite.